like to first of all welcome everybody and thank you for coming out tonight to the first public meeting for the Interstate 229 project. It's a study of exits 3 Minnesota Avenue and exits 4 Cliff Avenue. So as I mentioned, this is the first of 2 public meetings that we'll have for this project. This is an informational meeting. The format for tonight, just so we all know, we're going to have a short presentation here, go through just some of the information about the project, and then we're not going to have any question and answers here. We'll dismiss everybody. We got boards set up out in the hallway that you've seen probably when you walked in, and we'll have staff at those boards. So you guys can feel free to ask questions and meet with us personally one-on-one if you have specific questions. So our goal was to get a lot of people to attend the meeting, and I think we've done that. I know we want to try to reach out to as many as we can and get as much input, information, and comments back from you guys as we can. It just helps us with the process. So my name is Al Murrah. I'm with SEH Engineering, and we were selected by the DOT to work on this next phase, I'll call it, of the and some of you probably were at some of those meetings, and so this is kind of the next phase of that process. So there were 3 alternatives moved forward at each exit, and so we've been asked to take a look at, as a starting point, those 3 alternatives that were moved forward and further evaluate and analyze the traffic and environmental that goes into the study to figure out if those are viable options or not. So, just to kind of take a look at the 2 different exits here, and we have these on boards too out in the hallway. So we just kind of wanted to give an overview, just to remind everybody of maybe what was brought forward after that previous study. So at exit 3, the Minnesota Avenue, there's always a no-build alternative that gets looked at. They also had a partial cloverleaf interchange, single point urban interchange, and I have slides going through here that'll show those. At exit 4, they had the no build, they had the single point urban interchange and a partial cloverleaf. So here's, and so these are some boards that we do have set up in the hallway, but just thought I'd just kind of give an overview of the alternatives that were moved forward. These are the ones that we were starting with. For exit 3, alternate 2C, it included the loop ramp, as you can see up on the northeast corner. And then on Minnesota Avenue, everything south of the interchange, there's going to be medians. The access to the park will remain at the same location it is. Going north on Minnesota Avenue, they're proposing, they're showing medians, center medians, and increased turn lanes all the way up through north of 41st Street. Alternate 2D, it's real similar to 2C. The difference in this alternate can't really tell on this picture, but on alternate 2C, there was 2 lanes in each direction on Minnesota Avenue north of the interstate, and on 2D, there's 3 lanes in each direction. So, and then the center median on this alternate goes from 49th Street all up to 41st Street. So the access at 43rd, the left turns there are gone in this alternate. So the third one that was brought forward is the single point, and you guys have probably seen this. There's several of them on the I-29 corridor in Sioux Falls. I think the first one's down by the T exit. There's one at 12th Street, Madison, and then at Benson. So that's what this interchange configuration would look like. So that's the third one for Minnesota Avenue. So on Cliff Avenue, similar. They have the loop ramp on the northeast corner there. And the other 3 legs don't change very much in this alternate. They did show a little bit of increased spacing between 41st Street there and the southbound 229 on-ramp to allow for more vehicles in that case. And they do have medians also shown on this alternate. And I think the main thing that they added was more turn lanes and more stacking for those turn lanes so that vehicles have more room to stack and wait to make those turning movements. Alternate 6 is a single point urban interchange. And on this alternate, they moved 41st Street. They brought that further away from the interchange, and it actually ties in up at where Pam Road ties into Cliff Avenue right now. So in this alternate, they realigned 41st Street. And so there would be a new traffic signal at 41st Street and Cliff, and then there would be a traffic signal underneath the interstate there. Alternate 7 is another single point similar to alternate 6. In this alternate, though, they did not move 41st Street up to Pam Road. They kept it in approximately the same location. They added a little bit more space between 41st Street here and the single point southbound 229 connection. So here's the timeline that we are working on. So 2017, the major investment corridor study was complete, and in 2018, last year, the summer of last year, we were hired to start on this study, and at this point, we've done data collection. We did new traffic analysis for the entire study area, and we've started some of the environmental review items. And so today we're in January 2019 here, we're at our first public open house, and our main objective is to get feedback from you guys as the users of this traffic system, and gather input, comments, and we have comment cards and stuff out there too. So there's different ways. We also have a website. There's information on there too that you guys can provide feedback as well. And so moving along on the timeline, design would be expected to take place in the next several years, with construction anticipated in 2024 and 2025.
Hi everybody, I'm Ross Harris. I am the Environmental Task Manager for the project, and as Al mentioned, this is where everything begins for us. We've got a graphic up here that's got a ton of information on it, and one of the things I wanted to do for you today is just kind of quickly highlight all of the work we've been doing. As Al mentioned, we would love to get your feedback and information from you on your opinions and what you're seeing, and certainly questions. We have a lot of staff here. We have technical experts out in the hallway there to help answer your questions. But this graphic here shows really kind of where everything all starts to come together, whether it's a transportation system issue. Clearly, the Big Sioux River and the natural environment in the middle is an environmental issue. And so we've got a lot of things to look at and a lot of issues to resolve in this study. I can tell you a little bit about the piece that I'm leading here. We've got ongoing field investigation work. We were able to get actually quite a bit done before the ground froze. We were able to get wetlands delineated. We were able to get archaeological and historical work done. We did a habitat analysis, took a look for threatened and endangered species. We have done a regulated materials review, hazardous substances in the corridor, and we're also able to get noise monitoring done. So these are all field studies that are done best when conditions are good, and we were able to get all of that work done last fall. Moving forward, we were also able to get agency coordination done. This is a very important step with regulatory agencies, and also begin our preparation of preliminary environmental reports. The regulatory agencies include state and federal agencies. We've gotten some feedback now from agencies such as Game, Fish, and Parks and South Dakota DENR. We were able to get a little bit from the federal agencies. One of them, Fish and Wildlife, has been furloughed, but we hope to hear from them as soon as perhaps the shutdown is over. We're working on the environmental scan report, which is an overview of everything that the NEPA documentation will need to cover. And then finally, this is kind of very much of a key piece here, the development of the purpose and need statement. And why is it important? Well, it's because, and these are specific quotes directly from Federal Highway Administration, it explains why the federal government, with its funding for projects, can actually do a project that may potentially create some impacts and some issues with the built and natural environment. It drives the process for alternatives consideration, evaluation, and final selection. And then finally, it is the test for meeting requirements of federal laws and executive orders that protect the natural environment, such as wetlands and parks and so forth. So here it is. This is our draft purpose statement, and I'll just read it quickly here. The purpose of the proposed project is to reconstruct the I-229 exit 3 and 4 interchanges to modern design standards to improve traveler mobility and safety, and at the same time safely accommodating bicycle and pedestrian travel through the Minnesota and Cliff Avenue crossroad corridors. And I'll just break those down quickly for you. And again, these are draft, and we're looking for input on these. What we mean by improved traveler mobility is that we're trying to resolve some issues with the current interchange designs. The useful design life expectancy is approaching. Existing and future traffic volumes, as you know, currently exceed design capacity. Existing bicycle and pedestrian facilities do not meet the current standards for design. And finally, another important consideration under traveler mobility is to be able to integrate the existing and planned street network with existing and future development. So everything works together better. In terms of safety, one of the things that we would really like to be able to do, of course, is reduce the crash severity rate. This is a computation, but essentially, if you think of crashes in terms of a scale of 1 to 10, for instance, the worst order of crash would be a fatality or an injury, and then we go down the line. So it's really important to do everything you can to reduce the crash severity rate. We also obviously want to decrease the frequency and severity of crashes for all modes traveling through the study area. And then in terms of improved intermodal connectivity, for pedestrians and bicyclists especially, the interstate can be sometimes a barrier to cross, especially with a great natural resource like the park system along the Big Sioux that you have. So we want to be able to improve pedestrian and bicycle connections through better linkages between the land uses north and south of the interstate, and also improve travel accessibility for users of all ages and abilities. And this pertains to the Americans with Disabilities Act. The next slides here, a lot of detailed information, and they're all out on the boards here, but these are the pieces, the technical pieces that go into the interchange justification report. That's 2 sets of companion documents that go with the environmental documentation process. So we've got existing 2050 no-build conditions. You've got graphics out there that show traffic volumes. It's got basically just a lot of data on it. You obviously can't see it here. We've completed an origin-destination study. How are people traveling through the corridor? We need to know how mobility works in the corridor. We're also looking at crashes. We've got very detailed crash information at this point. This is exit 3. You'll see a board that has the same information for exit 4. And turning movement counts, there's a board out there for Minnesota Avenue and for Cliff Avenue. These are important pieces of data to factor in for development of the traffic forecasting information. And so Al is going to lead us through the next steps here, and then we'll conclude.
Sure. Thanks, Ross. So where we're at in the study, as I kind of mentioned, there was an MIS study complete prior to this, and so these two interchanges were selected to get further analyzed, and so we're in the process of analyzing the traffic data that we gathered this fall. Our next step would be to develop an IMJR, which is an Interchange Modification Justification Report. It's a document that has to be completed along with the environmental document that Ross talked about, and one of those has to be completed for each interchange. And so the next step is to develop the draft document and work through the environmental document as well. And then once we do get through those, we will have a second open house. I don't know exactly when that'll be yet, but it'll be down the road once we get through both those two documents, a draft version of those, so that we can have further comment feedback. So I guess at this point, we don't have, like I said, we don't have a lot to share here yet tonight. We're more in the information gathering mode, and we wanted to hear from you guys. And so we'd like to dismiss and head back out to the boards, and like all of us are going to be available to answer questions. And if you have comments, we have comment cards you can write on. If you want to mail those in, you can, or if you want to leave them here tonight with us, you can. And oh, yep. So on this last slide here, there is the project website. It's also, there's a link on the South Dakota DOT's website to this site. But if you go here, we'll have all the project information. Updates will be on this website. The information, the boards that we have out in the hallway tonight, the presentation itself, there will be a link to that on this website. So if you guys want to take a closer look at something, some of the boards or whatnot, you'll be able to go to the website, and it's not there yet. It'll be there in the next few days. We'll get the updated. So, and the project contacts we have listed there. They're on the website as well. And so I guess that's all I have for right now. If you guys want to head out to the hallway there, and we can talk about it a little bit further.